Good evening, you Hardcore Sports Network fanatics. It's Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're fresh off week 7 of the 2025 NFL season. I'm joined by my co-host going forward for the remainder of the season, Agent Warrior. And based off his headline, the NBA on NBC is back. That's a reminder, folks. The NBA is back right now. We got the opening game between the defending champ OKC Thunder and Houston Rockets to kick off the season, followed by the Lakers and Warriors late. But tonight we're here to talk about NFL pick'ems and preview Week 8.
Thank you for having me, Nicky. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, after 24 years of NBA, NBC has returned. This is officially one of the greatest shows we've ever seen since 1990. And when I heard NBA or NBC was announced this year, I feel like the world was officially started to heal. And no, I'm not wearing my Giants hat today. I'm wearing my Brooklyn Nets hat because the first off that we play against Charlotte tomorrow, and two, the NBA season's back. So welcome everyone to NFL Pick'em Week 8. I'm your co-host Agent Warrior X, and we are on our way with Week 8 of our predictions and analysis for this week's.
That's right. Yep, we're fresh off Week 7. Is there anything you would like to say about Week 7? Anything that surprised you or you felt was noteworthy before we dive into Week 8?
What shocked me the most about Week 7 was a 50-50 game against Denver. This has to be the most shocking comeback anyone has ever seen since the Falcons and the Patriots. And to be honest with you, in my perspective, it was really a tough loss. But at the end of the day, we have nothing to blame but the bad coaching at the very end of the second half. So, in my perspective, the New York Giants have to play a lot better. I'm going to say that we have to play a lot better. Jackson
Definitely.
Dart, Jackson Dart did his part. Scatterboo did his part. The offense did their part, but in the end, the offense really played badly, and they forgot how to play.
Yeah, definitely. And you got to start for teams that do play the Broncos going forward, they got to take note that they're a team that gets hot in the fourth quarter. Both our teams, respectively, went into the fourth quarter with leads and ended up losing in the end. So that's a
We
note
both
right
found
there
out
to
the
really
hard way.
please.
We both
If you're
found out
playing the
the hard
Denver
way.
Broncos, watch. All right, give it one moment, folks. Resetting his mic and
No, no, no. I just muted. I just muted.
but yeah, with that being said, though, that was in for the Eagles. The game against the Vikings was perfect because it proved they made the right decision in the 2021 offseason, sticking with Jalen Hurts over Carson Wentz. Because we saw Wentz looked out of sync with the two picks and a lot of times under or overthrowing receivers. And ironically, he helped the Eagles out too, along with Jalen, AJ, and Smitty.
I couldn't agree more with you on that one, Nikki, because after disastrous Thursday night, which I was pretty much shocked because I was expecting Philly to win on Thursday night, they immediately bounced back against Minnesota, which I wasn't too surprised that Carson Wentz was starting over JJ McCarthy because McCarthy was still hurt during that time. But in the meantime, I would say that this, in my opinion, would have to be the most shocking, the most not surprising thing because Philly does what Philly does things.
It's right. And they have that great talent there that helped them out. So that's that. Now if you're ready to dive into week 8, let's dive into it. We start Thursday night. The Los Angeles Chargers host the Minnesota Vikings at SoFi Stadium.
I'm not gonna go too far on this because let's face it, both teams in their respective leagues and divisions, and I'm gonna say that Minnesota played bad. I think they're gonna still start Carson Wentz, but if Justin Jefferson could get more routes and more catches, then they would have never been in this situation. But if Carson Wentz can bounce back after that loss against Philly, I see unfortunately the Chargers winning it. Reason why is because that the defense, the defense pretty much, the defense can pretty much do their part, but unfortunately, their offense looks great. Their offense looks great. Though Justin Herbert can bounce back against Minnesota, but I see the Chargers getting the job done. So give me the Los Angeles Chargers get over the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, same here. I got the Chargers winning this one. And this is probably going to be a competitive game, but the Chargers are still at home. They're a pretty solid team. And Justin Herbert, I mean, I do think he sometimes dozes off in big games. Well, not dozes off, but he misses the mark on big games. But this could be a good rebound game against the Vikings for the Chargers. It'll probably be a high scoring game, but I feel like the Chargers should win this game. Might play out kind of similar to what we saw with the Eagles and Vikings, with the Chargers getting the dub and moving on to 5-3. I feel bad for Justin Jefferson, man. He's had a lot of bad luck at quarterback. As great of a receiver he is,
It's not just Justin Jefferson that I feel bad for. I feel bad for Aaron Jones and, of course, T.J. Hawkinson. So next up, ladies and gentlemen, we have the Miami Dolphins versus the Atlanta Falcons. Now, after what happened with the Falcons, after a close game loss against the 49ers, I could see them bouncing back on this game. Miami, we already know what happened last week against the Browns in a literal tank bowl, but they have an opportunity to move up one or few more spots in terms of the NFL draft. So Miami, in my opinion, are the worst team in the AFC East. Never mind saying the Jets. We'll get to that later. Never mind saying that team. But I would say, in my opinion, the Falcons will win this game over the Dolphins. But if Quinn Ewers could get his cards right, this could immediately spark a fire in terms of destroying the tank. So don't even think about beating the Falcons. So give me the Atlanta Falcons over the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, I'll have to go with the Falcons in this one because the Dolphins are just a complete dumpster fire. Falcons are kind of so-so, but this is one of those games that favors them because the Falcons one of their strengths is their defense. Their offense obviously still has work to do, but their defense should be good enough to beat this Miami Dolphins team because we've seen Tua's regress this year, and he's looking not like he's got his bell rung too many times, and it's messing up his play on the field. And the Falcons defense, this should be a great game for them, and it should be good enough to beat the Dolphins. Because I'm telling you,
Michael Penix Jr., in my opinion, looks like a good start after Kirk Cousins came on the field. When Kirk Cousins came on the field, I don't even know why the Falcons even paid for him. But in my perspective, I think, in my opinion, they should have never paid for Kirk Cousins.
No, and it felt like Penix was a bit of a reach in the first place. So I get obviously they wanted a quarterback for the future, but they should have just had that be the plan from the start right away. It kind of looks like they brought in Cousins and then maybe had second thoughts, and that's why they went with Penix, but they botched that whole situation, creating that controversy. They should have just had a plan on going for a quarterback in the draft and just stuck with it and gotten a veteran backup like a Jacoby Brissett or somebody or whoever was on the market.
Like Gardner Minshew or Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, right? You name it.
Exactly. That would work perfectly with a young quarterback, but it just feels like the Falcons botched that whole thing. But the Dolphins, you think the Falcons botched their QB situation. The Dolphins botched their whole team in recent years. And now they're stuck where they're at.
And not only that, but we're hearing a lot of rumors about Jalen Waddle being traded to Buffalo or New York. Which, in my perspective, when Mike McDaniel said they're not making changes, this lets you know this is a fireable offense. This could immediately increase the hot seat chances by Black Monday in January.
Oh, yeah, and he might not even make it that far. I even put a poll on Twitter asking, do you think McDaniel will make it through the season? And my choices were maybe or no way.
I'm going to put it this way and say no way.
Right. Don't be surprised to say the Falcons win this game and we hear McDaniel gets fired by early evening Eastern Standard Time. It could happen any week.
Couldn't agree more with you on that one.
But we've covered that one. This is going to be a fun one. Bengals and Jets.
Do we really need to explain this here?
We shouldn't.
Because to be honest with you, we already know what happened last week. Do you remember my analysis of saying that the Carolina Panthers should dominate against the Jets?
Yep.
About that. Before the game even started, I saw a video on Instagram where the Jets fan burned a Bryce Young jersey. A Bryce Young jersey. And they haven't scored a touchdown. They've been scoring more field goals than the previous couple weeks with Justin Fields on the field. But unfortunately, he got benched. And I don't blame Woody Johnson for that. But benching your quarterback that you just signed a 2-year deal with, that is inexcusably bad. And not just bad, but this is personally bad for your organization. So if you're going to keep doing bad things for the team's organization, this could immediately spark a fire in terms of winning the tank ball, and not just winning the tank ball, and potentially becoming the fourth team in NFL history to not win a single game in the season. The 70s Buccaneers, the late 2000s Lions, and of course the Cleveland Browns. So I'm not going to be surprised about this. Give me the Cincinnati Bengals over the New York Jets because Joe Flacco played amazing. But I will be shocked if the Jets win it.
I know. Yeah, if that, at least I feel like with the Bengals, at least they have an offense, which is something the Jets don't have at all. They even benched Justin Fields for Tyrod Taylor, and even Tyrod Taylor couldn't get that offense moving. That's how bad it is. And the Bengals, we know they have a suspect defense, but if they can win games against teams like the Steelers or teams like the Jaguars, I'm sure they can win this game against the Jets. Flacco's got the right talent around him to at least win some games, this being one of them. So I'll take the Bengals to go to 500 and the Jets to fall to 0-8.
We've seen a similar movie before that.
Yep. Kind of ironic. It was, we saw 2020 Jets, and ironically, Aaron Glenn's kind of stuck in the same situation Dan Campbell was in, where he's taking over a dumpster fire where there's not much he can do his first season. Except just hope you get the players. You went over the players.
Yep, and look how that turned out when they were patient enough for the head coach.
Right.
Look how that turned out with the Lions. They got a lot more better.
Absolutely. And Aaron Glenn, he's stuck in that same situation because, I mean, really, this team is such a dysfunctional team with the Jets that even a Sean McVay would struggle to get a few wins out of this team. That's how bad it is with the Jets. So I can't fully put the blame on the coach.
Me neither.
But moving right along, next game, Patriots and Browns.
You know, surprisingly, Quinshon Judkins actually played a lot better. But going up against a Patriots team, I'm sorry. New England. That's it.
Yes, same here for sure. Because New England, now they finally got their mojo. They got a coach that understands the 2020s. As great as Belichick was, it just got to a point where his style was dated and they needed a fresh approach in the locker room. And Vrabel's brought that to them. They got a young quarterback in Drake May. They got another easy game on the schedule. Give me the Patriots to move to 6-2 in this one.
I'm starting to think that we're seeing a similar year where the Colts and the Patriots both did great.
Yeah, that could be a potential renewal of the rivalry with different faces. Maybe one day down the line.
I agree.
Moving right along, here we go. Rematch time.
Yep, we got the New York Football Giants against the Philadelphia Eagles. Rematch of Thursday Night Football. Now, before we get even further, let's analyze what happened in both teams in their respective weeks. The Philadelphia Eagles bounce back against Minnesota. No surprise. I already mentioned that earlier. The New York Giants, They were coming off a hot start in the first half against Denver. They were doing great. Jackson Dart was keep doing Jackson Dart things. And unfortunately, in the second half, it all came down to the wire in 5 minutes. When you were up 19 points, there is no excuse for you to blow it. And unfortunately, because of that, the defense officially imploded. Not just imploded, but in a team effort way, both offensively and defensively in respective gridirons. So I'm gonna put it this way and say that the Giants should put up another great game. Do the same thing like you did against the Denver Broncos in the first half, but do not implode in the second half. And speaking of the kickers, Jude was officially released by the New York Giants today, which I'm hoping either Graham Gano or Young Wei Koo can get the job done more than that to see how how the real kicker gets the job done, like Nick Folk or Brandon Aubrey or Jake Elliott, you name it. So I'm gonna put it this way and not be biased about this, but I have a feeling it's gonna end up in a very close game. So if I had to choose one, give me Philly. Philly is gonna dominate in terms of wide receivers because Jalen Hurts do what Jalen Hurts things. And as for Jackson Dart, he's handled the pressure before. He's handled the pressure in terms of road games, and somehow he came up short in terms of losses. So if I had to choose one, Philly. And the final analysis. Here's my bold take, Nicky. You ready to hear this?
Go for it.
The Philadelphia Eagles and the New York Giants will go to overtime in a shootout.
All right.
The winner of this, Philadelphia, in overtime.
That's a bold take, and I appreciate your honesty. But I don't think it's going to be a replay necessarily of the New York game. It's because now here you are in Philly, and it's a little bit of a different situation. But we know the Giants can score points. We've seen it. That's the one thing they did right against the Broncos, and they did it against the Eagles. And we know with Carson Wentz's performance or lackluster performance did help the Eagles secondary out a little bit. We know Jackson Dart currently is a better quarterback than Carson Wentz. So I'm expecting more from the Giants. And the Eagles, their offense looked like it was in sync last week, but it could be a close game, though. I'm thinking, it might come down to the wire. Maybe a Jake Elliott field goal decides it. So I'm picking the Eagles in a close game.
And you know what? Speaking of Dart, he leads the conversation in terms of offensive rookie of the year. Yes, that wide receiver for the Buccaneers. What's his name again?
Igbuka.
Yeah, Mbuka. Mbuka is up there, but Jackson Dart is outplaying every quarterback this year in terms of rookies. He's outplaying Cam Ward for more touchdowns. He's outplaying Dylan Gabriel in terms of yards and rushing yards. And he's outplaying Shador Sanders. He's outplaying pretty much almost every player in the rookie draft class in terms of quarterback. So yes, the Giants got their guy, but is it enough to in terms of development? Is the real question. We may never know. So if the defense implodes, this has to be the game that gets Shane Bowen fired. So it's going to come down to the wire, and ultimately, I got Philly winning it. Hopefully, for real this time.
All right, we will see. And then moving along, Bills and Panthers.
That's a really good one. Think about this. Josh Allen is coming off a bye week, right? Josh Allen's coming off a bye week. The Bills are coming off a bye week. And the Panthers ultimately did actually pretty solid, but they did look sluggish on offense and defense in terms of the plays. So I would ultimately say that Buffalo wins it. Unfortunately, Carolina loses it.
I'm going to say that the Bills do end up winning this game because the Panthers, even though they did win against the Jets, I wasn't that impressed with their performance as a whole. In Buffalo, while they have lost two straight, they're fresh off a bye week. You get the players a little bit of time to rest. Great opportunity for them to come back. play up to abilities, and go to 5-2. Put that behind them because the Bills do have a better all-around roster. The Panthers are a scrappy team that will fight through the games. They are 4-3, but they're not a complete team yet. In Buffalo's, while it has its flaws, they're closer to a complete team, and they have a top 5 quarterback in Josh Allen. I think this is where they bounce back and get a win.
I couldn't agree more with you on that one, Nicky. And speaking of that, you remember how I said the Giants would get, I would say, give them a couple years in terms of development? It's progress. So I'm the same thing with I would say the same thing for Carolina. Carolina is a developmental team with Bryce Young, with a new coach. So it's progress at the end of the day.
Yep, and moving right along, this is going to be this. We didn't think it would look this way going into this game. It's the 1-5 Ravens hosting the 4-2 Chicago Bears.
Bears.
Yeah, same here. I'm not confident in the Ravens. This is the year where everything all of a sudden finally fell apart.
And not just falling apart. I'm going to put it this way and say that this is one of the most disastrous seasons I've ever seen in terms of Baltimore sports. We had the Orioles going from first place last season to immediately crumbling to the Yankees. We have the Baltimore Ravens, who eventually won the division, ultimately losing to the Buffalo Bills thanks to Mark Andrews. So when Lamar Jackson comes back in the next couple weeks, this would immediately not fix the team at all. So I will feel bad for Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, but I won't feel bad for John Harbaugh.
Yeah, I mean, same here. I mean, the Ravens did it to themselves. They've had their flaws in terms of even Harbaugh's had his flaws as a coach. We've seen them blow leads repeatedly, and now this year is the year it finally comes back to bite them. After all those years of being successful in spite of themselves, now it's finally falling apart. And I feel like that's going to continue in this game because at least the Bears, well, I mean, they're still not great yet. They are 4-2 and they have a new coach. They're at least moving forward in a new direction and moving the needle forward, while the Ravens are going in the exact opposite direction. So I'll take the Bears to win this game. Ravens fall to 1-6. And
they will be part of the tank ball eventually. Nevermore, quoth the Raven.
Moving right along.
Next up, we have the Houston Texans versus the San Francisco 49ers. Now, a lot of people, including myself, there was no big surprise. Christian McCaffrey is back to his 2023 form. Houston Texans, I'm going to say they played bad in terms of the offense. The defense did try to do their part, but ultimately the O-line wasn't enough. CJ Stroud is now slowly becoming not a third string quarterback, but like a third year struggle, I could say. A third year struggle with CJ Stroud. But I'm not going to criticize that too much, but I could see it's going to come down to the wire between Mac Jones and CJ Stroud in the fourth quarter. But ultimately, in terms of coin toss, give me the 49ers over the Texans.
Same here. I will take the 49ers because even though the Texans, I mean, the 49ers are injured, but they're finding ways to win games, and they're winning the games they should. And the Houston Texans, they're falling apart. It's turned into a mess. CJ Stroud's clearly regressed from his rookie year, and the team, they're clearly missing a good run game is what they're missing on offense, especially since Joe Mixon got injured and he's still not back. And the 49ers, we saw Christian McCaffrey have himself a really good game. This might be the point where he's now starting to get back into shape. When he stays healthy, he could go off for another game here. And like I said, 49ers, say what you want to say, but Kyle Shanahan tries to make the most of what he has, even when the team's dealing with injuries. And they've been doing that again this season. They're finding ways to win in favorable situations. They're playing a 2-4 team. Give me the Niners to come through. They have enough talent to get the W in this one.
Couldn't agree more with you on that one, and including the fact that even though the defense is slightly injured, where they have Nick Bosa and Fred Warner out, so they're still finding ways to win. But ultimately, I think the offense could come through.
Alrighty, moving right along. We got the
We got the
Saint.
NFC South division rival, the Buccaneers versus the Saints. Spencer Rattler, in my opinion, is developing a little bit more. Give him like a right coach to work with, and he'll be okay. But there's no big surprise because the Buccaneers will cannonball their way to victory, becoming and still becoming the best team in football.
Yeah, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers right now are like the humiliated tough guy villain after last night's game, and the Saints are an easy victim for them to take their frustrations out on. Give me the Buccaneers to win this game and bounce back.
Does that sound familiar? Does this sound familiar to you when you said that take out their frustration on your division rival? Exactly. Thursday night.
Now moving right along, you got Broncos hosting the Cowboys.
You know what's crazy? This could have been a Super Bowl matchup between those two in the 90s. This could have been a dream matchup if the Steelers didn't, if the Broncos and Cowboys actually did something great. Ultimately, now we get into the present. We got the Denver Broncos versus the Dallas Cowboys. Two greatest franchises. One winner. All that aside, though, I think in my perspective that the Dallas Cowboys are coming off a win against the Commanders. Deron Bland is back. CeeDee Lamb is back. The duo between George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb are back. But I think they are going to start off real good. But ultimately, I have felt something so crazy. Do you remember how the Denver Broncos came back against the Giants last week?
Yep.
I have a feeling they might do the same thing come the fourth quarter because Bo Nix might do something really crazy to give the ball multiple times to Cortland Sutton. And of course, the defense will pick off Dak Prescott. So ultimately, it's going to come down to the wire, similar to we saw on Sunday. So ultimately, I would say give me the Denver Broncos over the Dallas Cowboys. We've seen the Cowboys defense were complete trash for the past couple games in fourth quarter situations. So at the end of the day, give me the Broncos over the Cowboys.
Yep. I'm going to say the same thing here because the Broncos, like we said, past couple weeks, we've seen fourth quarter is when they always figure it out. And the Cowboys, this could be similar to score wise. This could be similar to the Giants Broncos game where both teams get over 30 points and the Broncos find a way to edge them out because we've seen consistently the Cowboys defense is not, they don't show up. Yes, they did hold Washington to 22, but that was also without top wide receiver and with their quarterback going down mid game. Here against the Broncos, you got a mostly healthy offense. They should have a field day against that Cowboys secondary. I feel like Dak's going to go out there, try to have a good game, but the Broncos are going to be too much for them in the end, and the Broncos win a close game.
I'm starting to think that the Denver Broncos are fourth quarter kings.
Yeah, definitely through the month of October, they've been. Now, we'll see how that continues throughout the season, whether they keep being fourth quarter kings or do they play well throughout the entire game. Something that remains to be seen. But for now, got the Broncos beating the Cowboys. And then, oh boy.
No big surprise. Tennessee is already tanking for the worst. Sometimes when it comes to tanking teams, do you immediately become contenders? No, you don't immediately become contenders if you already tank for the top pick. So I'm gonna put it in retrospective and say this: once you get a top pick, you're not guaranteed to be a playoff team. It takes time for development in terms of developing quarterbacks, running backs, etc. So Tennessee is one of those teams in the sports world that tanks a lot, that went from a playoff team to a tanking team in terms of development and career purposes. Detroit Pistons is another prime example too. And I'm not going to get too far on that. I'm going to say give me the Indianapolis Colts over the Tennessee Titans because Indiana Jones, aka Daniel Jones, is having a resurgence year after that massive disaster he had against with the Giants. So props to him, props to the Colts. Give me the Colts over the Titans.
Yeah, same here. It's self-explanatory. Colts and Titans are going in opposite directions. Titans are in a deep rebuild, trying to get something going for the future. Colts are in win now mode with a good offense and a quarterback having a resurgence. And Shane Steichen, who we're now starting to see that he is a good coach. He last 2 years without a quarterback that fit the system, they still were in the mix throughout the season. Now year 3, he's got the right quarterback for his system. Now you see the results actually coming together in the Colts winning games. And they got the perfect punching bag in the Tennessee Titans to keep that streak going. And that cruises into the Sunday night game. Aaron Rodgers playing for history to beat all 32 teams as a member of the Pittsburgh Steelers against his former Green Bay Packers.
You know what's crazy? Back in 2010, he owns that team. Now he's playing for that team, right? I thought the Steelers was going to win that against Green Bay, but ultimately Rodgers was too good. So let's focus on the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers are coming off a tough loss against Cincinnati on Thursday night. It was the one of those games that it was an Unk Bowl. Two old two old quarterbacks, veteran quarterbacks, dueled it out and said that he's better, they're better, and ultimately Joe Flacco was better. But this one between Jordan Love and Aaron Rodgers, I think the Steelers is gonna bounce back against the Green Bay Packers. I know Tom Gross is a diehard fan, and Urinated Tree is a diehard fan of the Steelers. So
Yep.
I'm gonna say that ultimately give me the Green Bay Packers over the Pittsburgh Steelers.
This is going to be a good matchup. But this could be. I mean, Rodgers is going to be motivated for sure. He's playing for history, but the Steelers' defense we know is suspect. We've seen it in Week 1 against the Jets in a game they should have won by more. We saw it against the Bengals. I mean, now the Packers, their defense is good, but their offense, they find ways to score points, but they're slightly underachieving. This is going to be an interesting one, man. I'll go with the Packers in this one because they have the better all-around team, but it's going to be a close game.
I was gonna think the exact same thing as you, Nicky.
And now we close it out. Kansas City versus Washington, the first Monday night game. I'll take Kansas City. They're back in rhythm now.
Let's start with the analysis first on one of the teams. Washington was coming off a very tough loss after Jaden Daniels is out again. He's out again, and ultimately the offense with Marcus Mariota really played bad. But we've seen this time and time in terms of Marcus Mariota played against weak teams. So I'm gonna say ultimately give me the Kansas City Chiefs because they will tomahawk their way and cruise their way back into second place in the AFC West.
Yeah, I got them winning this one too and taking care of business. Oh, wait, never mind. That is the last game. So I'll just put point totals. All right, so that's it for the week 8 matchups. Do you have any hot takes or anything else you'd like to say before we close it out?
There are a few hot takes I want to say about certain teams I want to mention. We already mentioned the Philadelphia Eagles are a juggernaut. So my hot take is this: Jalen Hurts will end up as a top 15 quarterback. Jackson Dart will win Offensive Rookie of the Year if he continues to play his cards right and make sure he doesn't turn the ball over as much as the road games, he has it. The Giants have their guy. Now as for the running back, they got a fun one and tough one, similar to Mike Olstad in Tampa Bay. The second hot take. Now that NBA back on NBC, how do we feel about the couple games that's going to be heading into the next couple weeks?
This is going to be a feeling out process. It's still, remember, NBA season's more of a marathon than a sprint because it stretches out. Each team plays 82 games. You're going to see waves, trades. You're going to have a big trade deadline. A lot of things could change between now and the end of the season. We see every year there's always at least a star traded to another team. It's just we'll see who it's going to be this time. It could be Giannis, but we got to wait and see, if it does happen and where he would go. You can see it's easy. Teams could, like the Nets with Kevin Durant, Kyrie, they started off that season looking like they were potential contenders, and then they had to ship both guys off, and then everything did a 180 for them. So anything could really happen, though. Or you saw like the Warriors when they got Jimmy Butler. They went from looking dead and out to reaching the play-in and making it to the second round. So who knows what
I couldn't agree more with you on that one. And ultimately for Brooklyn, this is my hot take for Brooklyn. The Brooklyn Nets will end up as the worst team in NBA. Not just the Western Conference or the Eastern Conference. I'm talking about the worst team in basketball. Yes, you may have Cam Thomas and Michael Porter Jr., but that's pretty much it. You have Nick Claxton, sure, but is that going to be enough to win less games and be good and be a good team to tank for a top pick? And those three picks, in terms of the college basketball, you have three players that's going to come out, and they are highly talented. Cameron Boozer from Duke. You have AJ Dabenta from BYU, and of course Darren Peterson from Kansas. So ultimately, I see the Brooklyn Nets will become the worst team in basketball, and ultimately tank for the number one pick. My third hot take is this: for the winner of this year's MVP in terms of the NFL season, it's going to be a coin toss between two players, Josh Allen and Baker Mayfield. It's going to come down to by week 16 to see who's the real MVP by then.
And I could see that very well happening, but it's got a long season to go. We're going to have to see who stays healthy, who stays in the mix. But most likely Buffalo and Tampa Bay will be top teams in their respective conference for sure.
And I would totally agree with you on that one. So ultimately, I would say that Tampa Bay could potentially contend for Super Bowl 60. And if Buffalo doesn't get the job done by the playoffs in the next couple months, their window will immediately slam shut. Oh, and since the World Series is coming this Friday, here is my final hot take on the World Series. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. will go off and have at least 5 or 6 home runs in 3 games. 2 for game 1, 2 for game 2, 3 for game 3, and 2 for game 4. But ultimately, when it comes to juggernauts or underdog type of teams, I have the Dodgers winning in 5 games. So they go back to back. One against the Yankees and one against the Blue Jays.
And I could see that very well happening. So for I don't really hot takes. My only hot take right now is that Mike McDaniel's only got weeks left as the Miami Dolphins head coach at best. That's one hot take right there. I don't see him lasting all the way to the end of the season.
Here's my bonus hot take. By Black Monday in January, the first 3 coaches that could be terminated are the following: Mike McDaniels, Brian Dable, and Zach Taylor, and Kevin Stefanski as an honorable mention. If Kevin Stefanski doesn't get his cards right in terms of quarterback situations, he could also be immediately be part of Black Monday.
Yeah, so yeah, we'll see what ultimately happens. So it looks like that's it, yo. So for Nicky Steez and Agent Warrior, thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next week for week 9 of Pick'ems every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, same time slot.
Thank you all for watching. I am your co-host, Agent Warrior, with Nicky Steez. Until next time, goodbye, my friends. Have a great
Peace.
night, everyone.